I think we're live. Hey, everybody. I am here with Bev. I'm filling in for Scott, which is really exciting because I really wanted to talk to Bev, and I've also wanted to jump in on all this fun Scott's been having. It seems unfair that I don't get to play too. So let me just, you guys all know who I am, but in case you don't, I'm Lindsay Nixon. I wrote all the Happy Herbivore cookbooks and sort of founded the whole thing that's been going on. I wrote, did I say 6 cookbooks? Because I did. I wrote 6 cookbooks. One of them is probably in your kitchen. And I've been doing a lot of weight loss research since. So check out my podcast, Shortcut to Slim. And actually, one of my amazing testimonial people is going to be chatting with me today, which is Bev. And so I want to just get started and let her take it away. But if you are enjoying this, please give likes and shares and all that good love, especially as Bev's talking, because it's super encouraging and I know I like it. And if you have a question for her, we'll get to them, so leave them in the comments. And with that, Bev, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
I'm so excited. So I guess let's kick it off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, because your story is so cool that you were vegan for a long time and then you went completely radical and then you came back. And I think a lot of people are like that. So I really am excited to hear you tell it.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because sometimes when I look at that, I think, oh my goodness, how did I go so off the rails? Well, basically what happened was my journey with going plant-based.
Yeah, let's start with how you went vegan first. Yeah, let's start there, because it was your husband.
Okay. Yes, with my husband first. He had some health issues. He actually had a blood clot in his leg that year, and so he became a lot more concerned about, what should our diet look like. And one night he came home from work and he was carrying in this book written by Dr. Esselstyn, and he said, I really think that perhaps we should consider going plant-based. Mm-hmm. And so that's when the journey began, and it was really different because, of course, I had not grown up that way. Mm-hmm. I suddenly was faced with, what am I going to cook? Mm-hmm. And what do you mean I can't cook with oil? I mean,
that's how I was. I was like, what?
It was just like crazy. And then it was a couple years after that, he was having some issues with what's, I guess, known as like grain brain, where he was
like a
having
brain fog.
Fuzziness, yeah, and so we kind of did an elimination diet and found out then that he really couldn't have gluten either.
Oh, wow.
So in a short period of time,
even less, yeah.
And gluten-free. and it was just kind of like, it was a lot of stuff to have to take in all at once. Mm-hmm. And try to make so many adjustments, but we did, and it was good. And basically what happened was, this is why your story resonated with me so much. He lost a lot of weight when we went plant-based.
Of course.
I lost some, but not very much.
Right? I feel you.
Exactly. And then, of course, I started to gain weight. And it seemed like with every passing decade, there was a few more pounds here and there. And it finally hit a critical mass for me in January of 2017 because I weighed as much as I did when I was pregnant, 9 months pregnant. And I was just like, okay, we got to reel it in. Something's got to change. I don't know what I need to do. And then one day I was on Pinterest and I happened to see a book that was written by a doctor, and it was about hormones and perhaps, like getting your hormones reset could, be the difference in your weight loss. Mm-hmm. And having just gone through menopause, I thought, that might be it. Maybe that's what I should do. So I got the book, I started reading it, and suddenly realized, of course, I was going to have to go back to eating animal protein.
Because it was like really like high meat, low carb, right?
Exactly. So it was all high protein, low carb. And my husband was not real happy about it, and he actually continued to kind of, stay pretty plant-based.
Wow. So he was dedicated.
He was just kind of like, I'm going to do my own thing. And I was like, that's fine. I said, I have to give this a try.
Right. Well, you were like, this is awful. I can't live. This isn't, no. And I know I felt frustrated. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and you were vegan for, I think, almost 10 years, because it was like 2009 and you said you departed in like 2017. So this was a long time you were already vegan.
Exactly. Yep. And like I said, in some ways I look back on that and I think, oh my gosh, I lost all my marbles. I mean, like the weight loss became so important. It overrode everything else because I was just desperate.
And here you were, like, eating all these vegetables, not cooking with oil. You'd been gluten-free. And not only were you
Yep.
frustrated, like I was, that your husband was losing all this weight and you weren't losing any, but you were gaining. So, of course, you're, like, even more frustrated. Like, well, something's wrong here. Like, of course you thought maybe it was your hormones or the change or something, because you're like, what else? It can't be the broccoli.
Exactly. So
hi, Angela. Hi, Delora. Thanks for joining us. They're giving you lots of loves and likes and hearts.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, so give us more. We like those. And just to sort of sum up what's been happening, Bev was saying that her husband had deep vein thrombosis, which is very painful and it can be very serious. And so he read Dr. Essie's book and was like, let's do it, babe. Let's do no oil, like plant-based. And they were. And her husband lost a lot of weight and she didn't, because it's so unfair. And then after almost a decade, she read this book by a doctor who said, like, hey, you're a lady, you have hormone issues, you need to be low carb. So that's where we're at in your story. So you said, okay, fine, I'm going to try this low carb thing.
Correct. Yep. So started on that in about February of 2017. And by June of 2017, I had lost nearly 20 pounds and was thrilled. And thought, great, this is fantastic.
Yeah, something's happening.
But here's the problem, though. It was like the maintenance of it. So difficult, and I missed carbs badly. I mean, I just was like, oh my gosh, to never have, like, and the thing was, it shows you how distorted your thinking can get over time. I was really looking at it and saying, you know what? I really think that part of the problem was the plant-based diet. It was too high in carbs, and that's what caused my problem. See, I got my thinking so out of whack. Well, anyways, what happened was over the course of the last summer, and into the fall, I started to gain weight again. Oh. And I probably put on close to 8 to 10 pounds.
So you reversed, like you lost half your loss, basically.
Yep, exactly. And so now we're in January of 2018, and I am just beyond depressed and upset, and I don't know what to do with my weight. And my husband said, have you thought about maybe looking and seeing if there is some sort of a plant-based program that you could follow and give it a try? And he said, I know your fear of the carbs. He said, but try. Yeah. And I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to find anything that's going to fit all of those, that criteria. That's not going to happen. So it was probably a cold winter night in January. I sat down or February probably, I sat down this year and I started looking, and I came across the shortcut to Slim Blueprint.
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, I was like, this is good. And of course I read your story and I was like,
which is the same as yours.
Like, this could be me, I mean, many years ago, it's like, that sounds so much like my story. And so I quickly ordered up the blueprint and I got it. And I did have like a mild panic attack.
When over the carbs. I remember that. You're like, Lindsay, there's so many carbs.
I have to take that leap of faith. I have to go for it. And so I did. I just decided I dabbled a little bit with it. I think I got it like on a Wednesday. And I started to just follow it very closely the following week, and then the next week, and I lost 7 pounds. And I was like, okay, there's something to this.
And you felt good. You weren't miserable.
So I just basically kept following the blueprint for like another 2 weeks, and then got your offer to join Meal Mentor, and I was like, well, heck yeah, I'm on board.
I want to party with this girl, though.
Absolutely. And the funny part is, it's like back when we had originally gone vegan, I had so many of your cookbooks, and I even knew that you had started the Meal Mentor program. But, the stubborn side of me kept saying, I don't know if I really need that. I mean, I do pretty good with planning my meals, but in reality, no, I wasn't, and like I would go shopping for things, and then I would come home, and then I'd be like, why did I buy these ingredients? What was I planning on making?
I would spend like $300 at the grocery store and be like, what did I buy? I can't make anything. We're like, you buy nothing, but you spend $300. So I have to have a shopping list or else. And then I spend like $30 and I have food for the week. I'm like, what is this sorcery? This list?
Right. Exactly. And that's why the Meal Mentor program for me, when I started to really look at it after having done the blueprint, I thought, oh, this is going to make so much more sense. My shopping will be easier. My meal planning will be easier. I will be following something that has, shortcuts and, slimming options.
Oh, I love those shortcuts.
Gluten-free options. I mean, it's like, it just was like, oh my gosh, this is everything we need. And I've continued to lose weight, and now I've actually gotten to the point where I am down below the weight that I was at last summer with the other program. And I'm so close to meeting my goal that I honestly did not think.
Oh my God, I want to hug you.
Thanks. I know.
And wait, I think you're at like 12 and a half now?
Let me think here. So I started off, I don't mind. I'll share all the numbers. So when I started off with last year, I was at 140 pounds. And then I got down to 120.
Amazing.
I got back up to 128. And now I'm almost down to 115.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been great. And
you eat carbs.
I never thought I'd be back to this weight again. I mean, I'm only now probably about 5 pounds heavier than I was when I first got pregnant with my son 13 years ago. So that's amazing.
Amazing. And you feel good. And that's what I always tell people is the most important is you feel good, because you did not feel good that whole time that you were forcing yourself to do this low carb diet. You missed carbs. You probably had the brain fog that your husband was trying to get rid of like so many moons ago. Yep.
It was awful. I mean, the only thing that was good about it was losing the weight, but the maintenance of it and the reality of it, it was terrible. And then
the weight came back.
Yeah, and then the weight came back, of course, because here's the other great thing that I've learned in all of this is that it's what you say, you have to, whatever it is you've done to lose the weight, you have to continue to do that.
Yep.
And, I think back over all the years when I've tried to shed weight, that's probably the biggest thing that I didn't do. I would lose the weight and then immediately fall back into old patterns, snacking on things and mindless eating, all of that. So, and it's a work in progress, obviously, because this weekend we went and saw the new Mission Impossible movie. And
I saw that too. Shame. I'm sorry. I had to see it.
Oh, it's so good. It was like fabulous. Yes. Highly recommend. But my son,
I know, it's like you're supposed to be embarrassed, but I went and I loved it.
I mean, I love all of those movies. I mean,
Me
it's
too.
Just like, fantastic. But my son went and ordered this huge popcorn. And I said, that's fine. You keep that down there with you. Well, midway through the movie, it starts making its way down.
Right. Somehow it's in your lap. You're like, how did this get here?
Exactly. And I looked at my husband and said, I really don't think I need this. But, then there was a part of me that thought, I can handle it, right? Because I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I can actually take sweets now and maybe just have one and let it go. But now I've learned salty foods, no, definitely not. it must be my nemesis, because it got to a super exciting part of the movie. And the next thing I knew, it was that hand to mouth action. All the popcorn, And then I looked at my husband and said, well, I guess that was my lunch.
Yeah. I was watching this interview with Amy, the comedian Amy. I can't think of her last name, but she's done a bunch of movies like I Feel Pretty recently. She was on Ellen DeGeneres' show, and she talked about how like she starts with popcorn. She's like, one little kernel, I'm so cute. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like split her lip trying to get all the popcorn in her mouth. And I was like,
yes, guilty as charged.
Me too. All right, so obviously Mission Impossible was fun, and the weight loss has been fun. But what's some other fun stuff? That's good stuff going on in your life?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know. It's summer break right now for me. So I work at a school. So we're having like the longest summer ever right now. Our school district is in the midst of they're like completely renovating the high school. So we actually got out early and we're going back late. So it's like my best summer ever, But other than that, I guess I would just say like, the meal plans are going great. It not only has simplified everything, but, I have a 13-year-old and he's not completely plant-based. I mean, he eats what I make, but he still likes
that's a success right there.
Exactly. That's kind of how I view it. That's a win, but he also still likes dairy and he likes meat. But, I feel like it's just part of, you set an example and you put the food out there. And I know eventually he'll probably come around, but I'm not going to force. I don't want to create drama around food, and he's 13. It's like, I get it. He wants to fit in with his peers, This will pass. Yeah.
He's on his journey. You're a great example. It doesn't matter.
And I think ultimately that's really the whole story is that everybody's on their own journey. It's not about forcing your ways on anybody. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone who's been giving us all the likes and hearts. We appreciate it. There's been a couple of questions. Angela asked what the blueprint is, and there's two. There's a 2-week blueprint that's like 14 days, which is what you started with, and then I think you've done the bikini since, which is a shorter 3-day one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I'll post some links about it where you can learn more or watch the videos that Bev found, which tells my story, which is very, very much like hers. And so that's something you can check out. Or you could just go to getmealplans.com and download a free sample plan, which is what Bev's using now. And sort of, if anyone else wants to say hi or ask us a question or give Beth some love, she'll appreciate it. I know I do. I love all the little hearts. They like pop up on my screen and I'm like, woo. The last thing I wanted to talk about are some of the things you struggled with. Because I know for you, the blueprint, it wasn't just about losing weight, but you, like you said, you had all these struggles, and now you have these educational tools and like these new approaches that will make you successful. Even if for some reason you decide not to be plant-based anymore, you can take this with you. It's not just a diet.
Right, correct. I would say like the workshops have been immensely helpful, really so much. I mean, the fact that like when I would plate food, I never really thought about how I was plating just as much for myself as I would for my husband. And of course, scarf it all right down,
Right.
and not think twice about it. Same with like going out to restaurants, too. It's the same thing there. You get served equal amounts of food, and it's like, having to rethink about, yep, I don't need that much food, and I think the big one for me was snacking, though. Snacking, it was definitely my issue.
Was that a hard workshop for you?
Yes. So many things, actually. Like, I can even remember, like, one of the first call-ins, like the Q&As that we did with you. Mm-hmm. And I think someone had asked, like, they wanted to change something about a recipe. And you said, well, why? Like, why would you want to do that? And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I could feel the rebellion in me, like, rising up. Because it's like, well, why can't she? It's like, but no, you have to, like, think about it. Has anything worked the way that I've been doing it? And it's like, no, it hasn't. So you need to do it the way she's written it and try it and then, move forward. And same with snacking. It's like you have to stop using food as a drug, which I could see that clearly that was a big part of it for me. And also just not, I think after you become a mother, like in my case, it was like all of a sudden, I kind of lost all the things that I had done prior to that. And so now it's like trying to figure out, what is it that I would like to do? Things that, that like light me up and make me, then stay away from the food, and not be wandering into the kitchen and mindlessly eating. So
that's so true. And I work with a lot of women, and almost all of them are mothers. And it's like you said, it's like as women, we are caretakers and we put everybody ahead of ourselves. And so at the end of the day, the only thing that is for us is like eating something we like. And so we like lose it because it's easy and we don't have to do anything else. You don't have to go anywhere. And it's so hard, but taking that time for yourself is so important. And I know I don't even have kids and I would feel guilty. Like I would feel bad that I'm like taking time for myself and not walking my dogs or doing the laundry or like just being of service to anybody but me. And now I'm like, no, Lindsay, it's time to show that caretaking towards yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be face down in ice cream and don't know why.
Exactly. So true.
And I remember we talked about on the call was that like I couldn't even just like give myself permission to read or relax without food. Like I couldn't take a lunch break longer, and I would extend my lunch break and eat. Like I would keep eating even though I didn't need to eat any more lunch because I didn't want to go back to work. And I'm like, Lindsay, you're the boss and you're an adult. If you want to take a 20-minute lunch break, you can, and you don't have to eat the whole time to justify it.
Right, exactly. No, but it's just, I don't know. That's exactly how I was. I would just find excuses and it would all revolve around food. And that's another thing too that I don't think I realized how much of like my socializing and everything revolved around food. And so it really made me have to, I really had to stop and say, oh my gosh, I have to reevaluate here because, I think in some ways it's like I put too much of an emphasis there and I need to, think about, other things, that I could be doing. So
one thing I also want to bring up, because I know you love the Facebook group as much as I do.
I do.
And you get so much love for your photos. Everyone loves your photos.
And you know what? I owe you for that, actually, because
really?
I was really afraid to ever post photos. I was kind of a lurker. I would, after I joined, I would stand out or, kind of like, in the
Like,
cyber
look,
world.
yeah.
Yeah, be out there looking and thinking, oh, that's so cool, but I don't think I could ever like post pictures of my, food. And then you had the May accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so stoked. I was like, I want to win some swag,
I'm only doing it for the swag.
I got so motivated. And then it was like, my husband, he teased me, and so did my son. They were like, what are you doing? It's like, you're taking pictures of, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm trying to win a contest here.
Leave mom alone. Mom is going to win.
And the funny part was, it was like, then I actually discovered that it was kind of fun, and sort of enjoyable. Hold on a second. There we go. Sorry.
It's dance time.
Get rid of that. But, yeah, so then it was just like, it became kind of enjoyable and it was fun. And I thought, it's also a great way to share, like I started finding that like it was important to me, just as important to me to read what other people were saying about recipes or things that they might have done. And I thought, well, I should share that as well. And then suddenly the very thing that I probably put the least amount of value on, which was, the whole community aspect of Meal Mentor, became probably one of the most vital things to me, because it's such a caring group and people are not judgmental, and it's really like become my favorite, thing. It's wonderful.
You're giving me goosebumps. I know I feel that way too. Like when I'm really struggling or I'm just having a bad day, like just seeing, even if if I say something, everyone gives me hugs and that's wonderful. But sometimes just seeing the positivity and other people loving other people and supporting each other is like, that makes me feel better. I don't even need to do anything else. But like you said, I definitely feel like the more I share, the more good it feels. And I'm like, do people care? Like, does anyone care? And it's like, if nothing else, we all know we're not alone.
Exactly. Right. And I think that's helpful too. It's just nice to share, struggles or successes, and, and then know that there's a community of people out there that get it, and that's nice.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we're like from all over the world. We're all different ages. We have all different beliefs and preferences, but like we still have this common connection, and it's just beautiful.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
And the sharing, like, so one of the things I had said, like, because you're a mom, and this is a lot of moms are always talking about how they struggle to not eat the food the kids leave, like, and then one of our members posted, I'm not a trash can, and I was like, that's brilliant.
Bingo. Yes. Another thing that I so desperately needed to hear, because I can't begin to tell you how often I thought, oh, yes, I have to, because, I don't want to waste food. And it's like, stop. Just stop. That's not what you're here for. You're not a garbage can.
Right. And it was just like she made just such that simple comment. And I was like, yes. And it's like you said, it was exactly what like we all needed to hear that day.
Absolutely. I immediately went and wrote it down in my book, because I've been trying to keep like a little journal of all the things that would be motivating. And, like when I feel like I'm going to go off the rails and do something silly, like, start eating a bag of potato chips or whatever, it's like, that's my thing. It's like I look at that and then I can say, calm down, you're okay, you got this, you're not a trash can.
So speaking of our awesome members, two other very, very active members, Amy and, both Amy's, Amy with a Y and Amy with an I, are here waving at you.
Oh, hey Amy. Hey Amy.
And Susan said you have a very inspiring story.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, so sweet. And Angelo asked, do you follow the meal plan to a T? And so I think you said that you followed the blueprint pretty exactly for 2 weeks, and then you repeated it. And so maybe you can clarify.
Sure. Yeah, no, I did. I followed it very strictly for about 4 weeks, and then started using the Meal Mentor plan with the slimming options. When the blueprint for the bikini one came out, I did that right away too. That's amazing, I have to say, because the amount of bloat that I got rid of was kind of shocking. Yes. Really shocking. I was just like, wow. And then since then, what I've been doing is I will go back and forth. Sometimes I will, maybe like for breakfast, I might go back to like doing some blueprint breakfasts. Maybe even like yesterday I had a blueprint lunch. I think I did the easy chili. But then usually at dinner time, I'll do a Meal Mentor, because that way it's the whole family and it's just a little bit easier. And yeah, so I guess, basically right now I kind of mix it up a little bit. I mean, I like choosing recipes also from the the breakfast book, the one that you can just the 28-day breakfast book or whatever that is, and then also the big breakfast book that's on the dashboard. I've done a couple of those. I mean, I like variety, so
yeah, I'm the same way.
That's kind of important for me. But then if I feel like I need to maybe go back to the idea of like, what does a portion look like, or maybe I just need to recalibrate, reset or something, right? Then I might go back and like repeat the blueprint again, just to kind of get my mind back in the game, and just especially like if we go out and we've maybe been eating out a lot, or we've gone and visited with family or something. It's like if I haven't been sticking to my plan, I like to just maybe do something like that to get myself back on course.
That's what I do. Like the regular blueprint, which is 2 weeks long if you do the total, I do it twice a year as like a really nice, like January and July, like to sort of like really reset myself, just to kind of keep myself honest. I think of it like a checkup. But then, like you said, if I've been eating out a lot or I've been traveling, like this last couple of weeks, I was flying a lot and my body was like all out of whack. Like the time zones, the airplane, eating at weird times, like I just felt awful. So I did the bikini blueprint, and like in 4 days, my digestive system was totally healed. So now I'm back to following just regular meal mentor. But like you, I just kind of, and our approach is I do the family meals from the regular meal plans, like you said, for our dinner. And if there are leftovers, my husband tends to take them for his lunch. If there's enough, then I take it too. But then I'm like you, where I just kind of like pick something from a meal plan or the blueprint that I like, because I work at home, so I can kind of just decide. But I'm all over the place with breakfast too. But someone, I think it was Amy, said she loved the cartwheel oats, and I'm like, yeah, that's my pretty standard breakfast is the cartwheel oats.
I have one sitting in the refrigerator right now.
Oh my God, me too.
Yes. Are you sure we weren't sisters?
I know. Blonde, brown, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I want to wear your glasses, so maybe we are. I don't know.
No, but seriously, I agree with the leftovers too. That is one of the things I love, especially like with school going to be starting back up again, and I'll be going back to work, and my son going back to school, and it's like being able to have those leftovers is so important, because I work close. Thankfully, I have the advantage of only being about 5 minutes away from the school.
Oh, that's nice.
Very nice. So what I usually do for lunch is I only get 30 minutes, but I run home real quick to let the dog out. And having a leftover is perfect, because I can just heat that up right away, eat it, and then dash back to work. So, without that, I don't know, it would be tough. It'd be a struggle to stay on task, and trying to.
And you have no control at restaurants. And also, like, I just get tired of it. It's like, I just don't want to eat, like, Subway every day.
No, I don't either. In fact, I will say one thing. The meal mentor plans have gone over so well here at our house that, my husband even was kind of like, he's like, yeah, eating out just doesn't seem to have quite the allure that it might have had.
Once did. I know. Instead, I'm like, if I ever want to eat out, I'm like, I know it's just I want to get out of my house. I'm like, let's eat something and then go do something else with that money, like go to a show or see Mission Impossible. Whatever, we both liked it.
Exactly.
Well, this has been entirely too fun. I could hang out with you all day long.
Same here.
I guess in parting, other than everyone give Bev some kudos and thank her for joining us today, is there any like simple advice you would give to someone who's considering or new to plant-based or weight loss or just whatever little morsel you want to deliver today?
Sure. I guess I would say if you're new to whole foods, plant-based, to just, take it slow, be easy on yourself. Don't feel like you have to be like perfect right away. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself back when we first started, and probably drove myself a little crazy in the process. And, the other thing too is I know I probably relied way too much on like vegan prepared foods,
like and substitutes.
Exactly. Right. Lots of fake meats and, things like that. And now I realize like, you don't need that. And, it's like, it took me a long time to get over the mentality of like, well, a vegetable, it can be your main, it can be everything, you don't have to have meat on the plate in order to have a complete meal. So I would just say, take it easy, take it slow, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect, and just enjoy the journey, because, your tastes do definitely change over time. I know that like when we first started, I did not like the taste of nutritional yeast at all. And now I love it.
Me too. I thought it tasted like socks. And now I'm like, how did I ever hate it? I wish I hated it.
Exactly. And I finally got over like my the hardest thing I think for me to give up was cheese. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, I live in Wisconsin. It's kind of the dairy state, it was a little tough. But now it's like, I will say it has no allure to me anymore. It's like, I don't crave it. I don't want it. And nutritional yeast has kind of become like my cheese.
It is. It's
so your taste will change. And I think you just have to give it time, because it's a journey and it's your journey, and you're the only one that can make it, and you just might as well enjoy it, really, because it's going to be good no matter how it turns out.
I love it. Amy's like, vegetables are everything. Yeah, word. I know. Like, I make whole meals around vegetables now. Like you said, it's not the cheese that's the center or the meat that's the center. Like, a butternut squash will be my centerpiece now, and I love it. Or potatoes. Potatoes are like really seriously my meat, I guess.
They are.
It's like totally. Potatoes are potatoes.
Well, like the other night I made that loaded potato salad, and it was funny because as I was doing it, I thought, oh, so good. But I thought, how is this going to like fill me up? Isn't that funny? Like the thoughts you have that I'm still having. And yet I looked at it after I had it on the plate with some corn on the cob, and it was like, I don't know what made me think I needed more. It's plenty. So
I know. It's because potatoes are so satiating. And when I hear, that's the one thing that always makes me crazy about low carb, because I tried it too, is like, and they're like, protein so satiated. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even on the satiety index. Potatoes are like bar none at the top, and then there's so many other vegetables or things like oats that are below it that you're just like, what? No! I can remember, and I tried to do it as a vegan, and I remember eating like blocks and blocks of tofu and cans of beans. I'm like, I'm just so hungry, and I know if I just ate like half a potato, I would have like fixed myself. But I was like you. I was like, I'm determined. I'm gonna lose this weight. No, that was not the way to do it at all. No.
No, totally not. And the funny thing is, potatoes are like my most favorite food. I think they have been probably ever since I was a child. Yeah. And so, like, to remove all my carbs out like that, or to make it so low, it was probably like one of the most miserable, times in my life as well. I mean, it was satisfying to lose that weight, but it was yet so miserable and, well, clearly not sustainable either.
I was just thinking, because we were talking about how we both liked Mission Impossible, but the last movie I saw before that was Mamma Mia 2. And there's this scene. Yeah, it's so good. And there's this scene where the one woman's like, I think wine is my soulmate. And her friend's like, I think my soulmate is carbs. And I was like, I feel you. And I took like deep inner strength not to like whoop or like do some very loud me too in the theater. I was like, sit in your chair, hold it in.
That would totally be me.
I hope I didn't ruin that. I didn't ruin it. That scene will just be extra special for everyone who doesn't know it yet.
Oh, fantastic.
It was so like, I feel you, girl. I feel you.
Absolutely. Gotta have my potatoes. It's so important.
All right.
But yeah, in terms of advice, I guess that's all I can really think of. Is just, to take it slow and not feel like you have to be perfect. And don't worry if you mess up once in a while. Just make a better choice at your next meal. It's okay. Just be forgiving. I think that's probably one of the bigger things I've learned from the Facebook group, and I've really taken that to heart. It's been kind of hard. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I can be hard on myself, and I'm trying to learn to be a little bit more forgiving if I mess up.
And I like that you're also doing that with like trusting the process. You're like, okay, I'm a perfectionist and I want it my way, but I'm just gonna let go and be open minded and have a positive attitude and believe it. And I think that's the big secret. That's what I tell people. You've got to believe it'll work, and you got to have faith, because if you don't, it won't. Like, it's just
your mindset workshop is so spot on with that. It's so true. It's like, because that's where you get like the whole thing of you can't take care of something you hate. It's true. Right. If you don't believe it'll work, and you don't believe in yourself, and you don't have that positivity, it's like, it's not going to work. You're kind of almost setting yourself up then for a disaster, So
it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy either way, guys. Pick which way. Pick the positive way. Pick the good story. Oh, I'm working on a workshop now about rewriting our stories, so I'm really excited for that. Good. Yeah, I haven't told anyone. You're the first one, and everyone else who's listening, but...
Awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
I know, it'll be fun. Okay, I'm really going to go this time because Bev has a day to get to, and I do too. But thanks everyone for joining. Please give us some love, share it, and I will post some links for information. And if you want to just get started right now, go to getmealplans.com and join us. Join us.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.